Failed miserably at home, Meghan was helpless against the eye-rolling and frustration when she and Harry went to New York City. Hello friends, welcome to the King YouTube channel. First off, let's discuss a couple of talentless people, who decided to quit royal duties and go to America to pretend to be royal with fake royal humanitarian work and tours. The other bizarre thing is they created this Archwell Foundation like they were the Clintons, the Obamas, or the Gates, or whatever successful celebrity or humanitarian or political figures they want to be. Let's think about what Meghan and Harry are actually famous for. They are famous for trashing the royal family and making fools of themselves, but they really believe themselves to be powerful world leaders. They released statements about the Israel and Hamas conflict. They released a statement about Ukraine and vaccinations, like they were the ones really doing something to affect change. Alright, so back to New York City. Anyway, a 7-vehicle security detail to drive a single block. Meghan showed up to this mental health event in the afternoon wearing an off-the-shoulder, off-white straitjacket. Parents of kids who were bullied online allegedly talked, but we didn't know what they said in those conversations, which to me is a little bit sketchy. But I guess it wouldn't make sense for anybody else to get attention. I mean, all eyes have to be focused on Meghan at all times. The grifters were introduced using their titles. They need to make up their minds about this. Are they going to use the titles or are they not going to use the titles? Well, I think they should continue using them because they make themselves look even stupider every time they do. Meghan essentially said the royal family held her hostage and they're so racist and they're hateful towards her, but she sure does want to use those titles. And what about the speech? I mean, it wasn't really a speech. It was a panel of people speaking a bunch of nonsense about stuff they know nothing about. And it seems like Meghan is just stuck in the 90s. She believes that girls still get online and just go down this anorexia rabbit hole. Anorexia is not so fashionable anymore, Meghan. Now, haven't you heard that curves are considered beautiful and we can have health at every size? Body positivity is all the rage. You are not even allowed to talk about the dangers of obesity anymore. Meghan claimed that she and Harry have been meeting with some bigwigs in tech quietly behind the scenes, which means it never happened. We know by now Meghan loves to speak in code, and the code isn't very difficult to figure out. Harry had a few wonderful ideas, though. He said that social media platforms should just get rid of algorithms, and it would be an easy thing to fix. He also said they should not allow anything online they don't want their children to see. Oh, thank you, Harry. What would we do without your profound thoughts? I guess we should all just be watching Sesame Street, huh? Then Harry talked about some poor farmer who was in the audience. He implied that that poor guy couldn't possibly navigate online dangers. Doesn't really take a genius either to figure out how Harry came up with those completely illogical thoughts. And then Meghan, out of touch as always, has no idea how to read a room. She decided it would be a great idea to just talk at length about being a mother while laughing and grinning at a room filled with parents who lost their kids to suicide. And then she went on to say that being a mother is the most important job in the world. Oh, and also being a wife to this one. She can't even use his name anymore. And once the thing had finally finished, Meghan did her usual of dragging Harry off the stage by the hand. And actually, the best part is this. In typical Meghan fashion, she said, and I'm going to paraphrase here, if the media are going to focus so much on what we're doing, then try to focus on what we are focusing on. Oh, thank you, Meghan. I forgot for a second. It is always about you. I'm sure there were some other highlights, but basically the point I'm trying to get across is this was a typical nonsensical show from Meghan and Harry. They have no business talking about this subject. What were they thinking? They need to go back to their Montecito McMansion and tend to the chickens or whatever it is they do there. They need to stop talking about things they know nothing about. The two of them also are not bringing in the crowds, and it's getting worse as the deceptions are reviewed by communities together online. All the bandwagons Meghan jumps on are for the sake of arguing her narrative on a public platform, and people connecting online is a real problem for her. So she just labels these online communities as bullies, and she tries to find a group that's actually bullied to use their platform. Same as the media appearance she did in Uvalde for the children who were murdered. She wanted to try and present herself as doing royal work as a humanitarian for the American people. She's always got an end goal in mind. This is never about the platform that she's trying to use and abuse. People can connect and talk about things en masse, so it must be a negative. What better way than to find real victims to hijack their victimhood to relate it to her own? I mean, that is what Meghan Markle loves to do. She's basically an ambulance chaser. She undermines the truth so that it will fit her narrative. And there are victims in this. The victims are the people she is undermining. The Queen said no, and it's gonna apply all her life. I don't believe that Harry is intelligent enough to come up with these shenanigans all by himself. And while Meghan is not really intelligent, she is sly. I mean, she's that kind of sick, scary sly, but anyway, it's like a relentless effort to grab and hold center stage and be relevant no matter what. Thanks to Meghan's drive, we're going to be entertained for a very long time to come. We can count on that for sure. To make matters even more hilarious, their 7-vehicle detail included a fake NYPD car. It was a Nissan, and the NYPD don't even use Nissans. It's available for hire for movies and TV. How phony can the two of them be? There's a rumor going around that we should expect a fake kidnapping of Meghan next. I hope she doesn't try that, but I wouldn't put it past her. I also read somewhere that Archewell was responsible for putting on this whole show, and then later I read, in fact, that's not true. So who was responsible for it? And why were there Archewell ads up all over the place? So who did the $1,200 per ticket go to? And did the parents who lost their kids have to pay to be there? Probably so. If there was a panel of experts there, then why didn't we get to see them in any photos? Who exactly were the experts, and what did they have to say? Does either Meghan or Harry have any medical credentials in the area of mental health that will qualify them to talk about this issue or give advice? No? Okay, then what exactly do they know that other people don't already know? Whoever created that event should have only had qualified people on the panel if it was really going to be a serious discussion. If I wanted to hear about mental health problems from a couple of crazy people, well, I would go to the area of town that you usually find people like that, the area of town where all the crackheads hang out, and at least they'd probably have something more interesting to tell me than Meghan and Harry would. Meghan Markle is also the first to admit that she is a hugger. Well, it seems that anything within range is going to be hugged as a show of what a warm, loving person she really is, unlike the cold, distant, cruel, overly polite royal family. In the Oprah interview, Meghan observed that Catherine didn't really respond warmly to her hug when she was first introduced to her. So Meghan figured it's just a difference between Britons and Americans. Well, Catherine's not phony. She's not a hypocrite. She's not acting a role for the cameras. Americans don't usually hug when they're introduced to somebody. That's weird. Now, a handshake would be appropriate, or just a hello, saying something like, "I'm pleased to meet you." That's very appropriate. But Meghan's always off on her own show, and she has no grace or dignity. And what is wrong with that woman? What makes her want to hug people she doesn't even know, and then with that horrible rictus grin on her face, too? Honestly, folks, I don't even hug people I do know. Not everybody is a hugger, and if they're not used to it, the hugger comes off as a bit insane. I cannot stand her phoniness, and I'm going to turn my back on her if she ever tries to talk to me. I wish she would. It's not going to happen, though, because I'm going to stay far, far away from Montecito. My news today has ended. What do you think about this couple? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments section. If you think my video is helpful, don't be afraid to like and share it with anyone else who would enjoy it. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.